Ramble.
Pretty basic.
Hey, Rem.
Hi, Losh.
We have two very, very exciting things to talk about right now.
We do.
Do you want to take one and I'll take the other one?
Yes, I will take the one where this is our 100th episode.
I'm sorry. What?
One more time. Our 100th episode.
I'm unwell.
I just don't. I can't believe we've done this 100 times.
What's crazy too is we launched our podcast in October.
Yes.
It's November.
Yes.
I think that's safe to say pretty much solid 2 years later, 100 times. If any of you have actually listened to every single podcast episode, I dare you to check and see if you've listened to every single one. Please tweet us. Please comment on our Instagrams, anything, because that is so insane.
You deserve a gift.
You deserve something. Like, wow,
AirPods.
you listened through some inside jokes. You listened to our boy drama. You listened to our toxic friendships. You've listened to our drunk nights.
They know us better than we know ourselves.
I feel like oh my God, we need to have on the Pretty Basic Instagram like a quiz, like how well do you know the girls?
Oh my
But like
God.
only the diehards would know.
That'd be so good.
That'd be so
I
cute.
don't think we'd even know the answer.
I know. Imagine if I like don't even like get it right.
I love when I get a random tweet or a DM about something we talked about like a year ago or so, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, like I saw this, that made me think of you." I'm like, "Oh my God!"
You're like, wait, I did that.
I'm truly impressed.
I did fall off,
I did scale a wall,
the bar, and people laughed, and
Oh my
that
God!
was thanks.
Fuck you for bringing that up. Fuck you for bringing that up.
I love that reminds you of me.
I'm not kidding. I think of that at least once a month while I'm driving or doing something. I'm just like, oh.
Me, Aaron, and
God.
Murph talked about it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, when we were FaceTiming without you. Not without her, but because, you could not.
I was busy.
Come.
Yes, don't worry. I was invited.
And we laughed about that for a solid 5 minutes.
I'm
We're like,
so
remember when Remy fell?
Murph wasn't even there and he's laughing.
Oh, you're so right. He wasn't. Point being, so not only is this our 100th episode, we also have something to celebrate today. Something else to celebrate.
That is true, Alicia. Give it to us.
We have hit over 50 million downloads.
Oh.
Can we put round of applause here? Yes, please. Yes. Woo, yes. What? I'm so shook because when we first started this thing, this was our little baby and we always believed in it, and it's just so crazy seeing it
Flourish.
It grow up. It's just crazy. I feel like we've grown so much in 2 years too. So we thought this episode would be a special episode because we hit 50 million downloads and we have our 100th episode to do some reflecting. I think more people should do reflecting.
I agree with that. I think I myself as an individual should reflect a little more. I love this idea for the episode. I will say, so we thought we would go back to our very first episode, which I have truly not listened to since we did upload it on October 24th, 2018. I have not listened to it since probably October 24th, 2018.
No, I remember we were both so obsessed with it that we listened
Over
to
and
it
over.
all the time.
But at least the first couple, after the first couple weeks, I never turned back again. It was triggering to say the least.
I just remember I went all the way back. I sorted the podcast from newest to oldest to newest, and I see the promo that we made, and then it was the first episode was called "This Is Pretty Basic," and I remember being like, Alicia, you are so genius for thinking of that because it's just a play on words and blah 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 blah.
We hit number 1 on Apple, right?
We really did
for a while, a little at least a full day or so.
I feel like
crazy.
that's something we
look out, Joe Rogan.
Watch out, we're coming for your brand.
We have never been back there again, but that is okay.
It's okay. One day we'll be on his podcast. He'll be begging to be on Pretty Basic.
Absolutely,
Obviously.
He seems like a pretty basic bitch to me.
Yeah, he's just the number one podcaster of all time. Clearly, he probably gets 50 million an episode.
I think he does.
I think he gets 20 million
per episode.
I think he gets
Don't say that on our celebratory episode.
You're right. Fuck that.
just blur and bleep that out.
Okay, we hit 50 million. That's something one thing I love about us, and we've talked about this before, is we really don't obsess over the numbers when it comes to this podcast. right now we're both laying on Rem's couch and just having girl talk. And it's just so crazy that other people in the world want to listen to that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's so cool documenting everything. So like we said, we re-listened to our first episode and I wrote some things down. I know you took some mental notes and we just want to discuss.
Also, what's really funny is we've been tracking the downloads here and there for this podcast. And obviously us being, first of all, YouTubers, like numbers are different in our head for YouTube versus podcast versus even just like Instagram and things like that. And so when I heard what we were at, I was like, oh, that sounds like a big number. That's cool. But I didn't realize how big it was until I looked at one of my favorite podcasts, and they have been around for years and years. They just hit 50 million. I was like, oh, wow.
Oh my God.
That's crazy. And they're like a big podcast. So I was like, wow, good for us. I had no idea.
Literally, that's one of my biggest tips for people starting podcasts. If you're new or you've been doing it for a little bit, if you are coming from the YouTube world, you cannot compare numbers on YouTube versus the podcast. It is two completely different platforms, two completely different algorithms. And I think it kind of, in a good way, helped us because I think it made us not pay too much attention to it. So it's cool. I feel like we never shout out ourselves enough. We're like, damn, we did that.
We did that.
We hit 50 million.
We're going to celebrate
Actually,
it.
you guys did that. That is insane. Thank you so much for always just hyping us up and like listening and everything. And obviously we're not going to ramble too much on that. You know,
Ramble.
we love you. Ramble. But yeah, I feel like we have some tips. We have some things we've learned. We have some regrets. We regrets.
A lot of regrets.
No regrets. So let's just get into it. There's some funny things that I thought of when I was listening.
Oh, me too. I felt personally attacked. What's the first thing you noticed?
The first thing I noticed, well, the first thing I wanted to say, I don't know if I know we've said this at somewhere. I hope people realize like we had recorded that many
Multiple
times
times.
before because that was one of our demos that like we kept like practicing before we ever launched the podcast. So A+ for our acting because we were very like, no way, tell me about it when like we already knew what we were gonna say.
The first few episodes are pretty rehearsed because we were so nervous all the time.
Yes.
Even listening to the first episode back, there were like 3 to 4 segments or so, which like you could hear a cut.
Yeah.
And then a
Oh my
cut.
God.
And then
I
a
thought
cut.
the same thing. The first big cut that I heard, I was like, if they only knew like the probably like 3-minute rambling that went on in between there that we were like, shoot, should we start over? Is this bad? Do we need to redo it? Is anyone going to listen to this?
Our original producer, her name was Kristen. She was so sweet and she was such a like gentle, nurturing mother throughout the first few weeks.
She was so good for us when we first started.
She was so nice and she'd be like, no, that was great. And we looked at each other and we're like, let's do it again.
Yeah, we're like, it's okay.
We love you, Kristen, but we got to do it again.
Yes.
I noticed that our voices have changed so much, but more so mine.
Really?
I feel like mine got now I know my voice now is definitely deeper. And it's not like even I was putting on a voice before. I think I was doing the Miss Remy Ashton voice before.
Yeah.
Now this is my real voice, but sometimes my voice gets even deeper sometimes depending on like who I'm around.
Mm-hmm.
But listening to the first episode, I was like, oh my God.
I will say same. I heard my voice and it was definitely more on. But what's funny is it wasn't as on as I thought it was going to be like, hi guys, what's up? Oh my God. And I was like, oh no, Alicia, that's 2011, Alicia. Like, it's fine. Like, this is only 2 years ago. Like,
You're so
that
right.
was after your break. That was the start of you trying to like, figure shit out. But it still was higher and just so much more on in general.
It was crazy because listening to the episode back, it took me back pre-COVID. We were recording on those couches, but even before that, in the very beginning, for the first couple months, we were recording at like a news table. It almost looked like a big proper table where we sat in like high chairs and like would just look directly at each other, and we had the mics and the headphones. I miss the headphones. We should get headphones.
I miss the headphones.
But I was transported back to that exact spot with Kristen there, like just us 3 in the room talking about everything. And I remember like just everything I was thinking. And it's just so weird how that immediately took me back.
I also was transported back to the promo shoots that we did in your apartment with TK. And we had this huge crazy countdown. I was so proud of that. I was trying to plan and edit everything. And it was like a Saturday, like on the weekend, we went and just filmed the ice cream cones. We filmed so much and got so much content to make like a week's worth of promos, like counting down the days. And it was so much fun. Like, I loved that. And it's just so funny looking back then and how stressed we were, even with the first Pretty Basic shoot, like running around getting all the props and the balloons and the cake and like just being so overwhelmed with everything. And looking back, fast forwarding to, what was it, a day or two ago, we have a Pretty Basic group chat with like our whole team, like with TK and Remy's videographer / producer, and even some graphic designers, and seeing all of them just like talk together and get so excited for Pretty Basic ideas and stuff. I had a moment just being like, holy shit, like we have a little team around us who love us and love Pretty Basic and believe in Pretty Basic. And it's so cool, not only to be able to employ people, but also to have like such a cool, awesome girl power group who are just like badass women who are so talented, and seeing how much our baby has grown that way too. Like the fact that we've been able to delegate and I don't know, just make our little team. It made me so happy.
I completely agree. It's so nice having just people around us in our everyday life, like always rooting for Pretty Basic. I thought something actually, the first thing I thought that was funny was we said we should have merch. 2 years later, no merch.
Okay, I feel like we owe it to them. We owe it to them to like be straight up and talk
an
to
explanation.
Guys, I personally thought we were having merch back in like last year, and then different hiccups kind of happened, and then there was some like internal like miscommunication just between two different teams. That's something that like you learn along the way of having like a business partner and everything. Then I feel like we got better at that, and then we had to find the right merch company, and then we it just have gotten caught up on a lot of different things, and then we had some team problems, and then we switched some things around, and long story short, we are sorry. I'm not even gonna sit here and be like it's coming, because like I mean, it is coming. Like we have this, like we're waiting on samples. But when you say
it's coming, you think it's coming next month?
Yeah, like
probably not.
We are. It'll most likely be top of next year.
Yes,
most likely.
Yes,
that's all I'm gonna say.
I was listening and I started cackling in my car. Like this is just embarrassing for us.
So let's
just be real.
Let's be real. We can't do the whole like surprise. We have like let's just update them every week. Okay, so we got the sample.
Yeah. We're not doing the revisions. Countdown.
Yeah, no
we
countdown.
Pretty much should just send it out for free for everyone at this point. We owe it to them.
We should. Oh my god. Let's
do a lot of merch giveaways.
No. We should do a discount in one of our episodes. That's like you have to go back and listen to one of our old episodes. Yes. We'll hide a discount in one of the old OG episodes, and then only certain people can like use a discount code because they've been like listening for that long. You know what I mean?
If we're like in the middle of it, we're like go to episode 4 times 372.
Yeah, 372. And like someone will find it. That's like re-listen. I love that idea. Point being, we will do some giveaways on the Pretty Basic Instagram and YouTube channel. So go subscribe and follow us there.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, you guys, I can't believe we got this sponsor. I live, breathe, laugh, love apartments.com. If you guys have not heard of apartments.com, it is the most popular place to find a place. I indeed have used it for literally every other apartment in my life up until I moved to this house.
I've also used it without planning on moving because it's just, I'm not kidding. I love looking up places, or anytime my friends are stressed about moving, I always volunteer to help them move. And I'm not kidding. I literally I go to apartments.com, search in the area, whatever. I am obsessed. So if you are looking to move, or if you just want to window shop like me, apartments.com has the most listings across apartments, houses, townhomes, and condos, and powerful search tools to help you find exactly what you need. They do so much more than just apartments. So even if you're looking for any type of real estate, definitely use them.
Also, what I love is their easy filtering system to go through. So, if you know exactly what you want, you can find exactly what you need on apartments.com. It makes it so easy. It's a literal no-brainer. So you should definitely try it out.
And it's so good to be picky if you're wanting a pool, or if you're wanting a high rise, or if you're wanting even something like a dog park connected to your apartment. Like it feels picky, but it's actually so nice. And I feel like they do the best job actually filtering through. So be as picky as possible because it'll help you find it. So don't get overwhelmed with that.
Also, they're really great because they have virtual tours, which make it so easy to just virtually tour a home, an apartment, whatever, from wherever you are. You could do it like while you're standing to buy groceries, while you're hanging out on the couch. Like you do not have to leave wherever you are, and you can check out some awesome places.
To get into your next place, visit apartments.com today. Apartments.com, the most popular place to find a place.
The other thing that I thought was funny was we started talking about how like our friendship was so misunderstood. And because I think at this time we had been good friends for like
let me get
long?
to my next point.
Okay, take the stage.
The next point that I also had a loud cackle laugh while I was listening and reminiscing on this time because I had said how we met and it was because of Mia. And little did anyone know, except for us, that literally I think 2 weeks later after filming that, recording that, is when we had our huge friendship blow up.
Oh, see, I'm in my head when I was listening in the car, I was like, were they not good at this time?
we were like, okay, but you can totally hear me compensating. I'm like, oh, we met each other through Mia. Like, oh my God, we love her so much.
Yes.
Like, I was definitely compensating of like, oh my God, like, no, she's fine with like, I don't like, even though if you watch The Truth or Drink, you now know she was totally fine with our friendship. However, I definitely didn't think so. So you can hear me. Guys, please listen to the episode after you listen to this. I was literally like, oh my God, yeah, like she's so supportive. Like, and you're like, she's so supportive.
But
like,
you know what? I brought that up in the episode. I went out of my way to be like, oh my God, Mia's so great. Because like, obviously Mia and I were always good. You and I were always good.
But that's where a lot of people didn't like
that's
us
the
being
thing.
friends.
I was getting so much from everybody in my YouTube comments.
You always get hate from everyone, and I hate that. It's like you did nothing.
I was just chilling. But it's so funny because I can come on here and say I have never had a problem with you. I've never had a problem with Mia at all. And like on being fully honest, sometimes it was a little hard for me to be in the middle of the two. But I got so much flack from people being like, you broke Mia and Alicia. So I went out of my way in that episode to be like, Mia's really supportive in hopes that like people would be like, oh, yeah, they're good.
Yeah. But it was just so funny because I was like, I literally think like 2 weeks later is when we had this huge like breakup blow up. Like, it was just not good. So it's just so funny hearing back to that. And then, I mean, I probably didn't even say her name in like the rest of the next few months. Like, it was just like crazy.
It wasn't until like recently I felt like you felt comfortable enough to bring it up again.
Or if there was any problems that I was
my toxic friendship breakup. And you're like, that was all like all
I'm like,
you would
which
say.
One?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, there's a lot.
No, me too. But I was laughing at how we were like, like we just can't wait for you guys to listen to this podcast because then you're going to really understand like our friendship, like our teams, like no one really gets it. And like fast forward 2 years, now we're like a package deal. Now it's always just like Remy and Alicia and Remy.
I literally just saw this comment today because yesterday we actually posted a collab of us switching houses, which
we were on the trending page
together.
Yes, we were. Like, right. It's like we were holding hands.
And I was 5, and I was just like, "Wow, I love this for us."
It's like we were holding hands on the trending
page. Okay, so there was a comment on my video today, and it's by Renessa. Shout out you. It says,
name.
"Okay, it's official. Remy and Alicia are the it friendship. Prove me wrong." That was yesterday, and it has 1,000 thumbs ups.
Oh my God!
And I literally, it's like one of the top comments, and I like. Going from 2 years ago, people being like, I hate Remy. She's a bad influence on you. Little do you guys know. Sorry, the Mac babies can go hard. They're just protective, okay? They're just protective.
But I feel like I've proved myself to the Mac babies.
You've proved.
We're good now.
But it's just so funny going from people really hating our friendship and feeling like we were changing like for the worse, and now people looking back and getting comments of people saying how they love how much we've grown and how we've even been able to grow together with them, you know. It's so crazy, and seeing that people love our friendship now is just it's just exciting because I feel like back then I knew who I was but didn't know how to show that, or sorry, I feel like I was still trying to find who I was, and that's why you were such an amazing friendship for me, and like I couldn't have done that without you, which we've talked about and cried about it on the podcast, so I'm not going to do that. But I think now it's just so crazy. It's so crazy.
I loved it in the first episode. We're like, it's so great because we can listen back to these episodes and look back at our lives and like we've never listened back to an episode. But for this situation, it really is crazy to think about. We really like in our hearts, we always knew these things, and it happened over time so gradually that I feel like I didn't even recognize it until listening back when you're like, oh my God, like it did happen.
And I think that goes back to the term believe in yourself. Like the way that we believed in Pretty Basic and our friendship, and we knew it was true and we were solid in that, I think is a good lesson that I would love to even tell my younger self 2 years ago even more, or even just people listening, of like, if your heart believes something, even if people are telling you don't do it, even if people are diminishing it. We had a lot of people be like, oh, it's just a podcast. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, this is not just a podcast. Like, this is something so much bigger. And I don't know. I think there's like, if you want to do something with your life and you're scared to, or you're nervous people are going to not like it or whatever, I think like even this podcast is proof that even if people dumb it down and be like, oh, it's just this, that's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. Like those are the same people that like later when it's successful are like, oh my God, hi. Like for instance, this is what I told TK when she first started her channel. I was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. You're going to like kind of get like shit for starting a channel, and people are gonna be like, haha, oh, that's cute, and like diminish it, be super condescending. And then the second you hit over like 50K, 60K, that's when people start being like, oh, hey girl, we went to high school together.
I make bracelets. Can I send you some?
Whatever. And it's just so funny because the same people that hated on you in the beginning were just jealous of you because now they're coming back and they're like, oh, I wish I could do that. Wait, you're cool now. And it's like, why can't they be cool when they're seeking out that first? Does that make sense?
I think it also just comes from jealousy because I didn't get a lot of shit to my face when I started my YouTube channel in high school, but I can guarantee people were making fun of me behind my back. Maybe at the time they just didn't understand it, but now a lot of people are like, oh my God, I remember when you were doing it. Like, it's so crazy. Like, I had a random friend from high school reach out to me recently and was like, hey, I never congratulated you on your success, but like, I just want to say, like, I think it's so cool you found what you loved so early on. And like, I know it's like so many years later, but like, I just think it's really cool. And I can almost guarantee this person definitely made fun of me in high school. We were friends, but like, I just know. It was like, what's she doing?
I mean, honestly, it's just human nature. So my point being is, if you want to start YouTube and all your friends are like, oh, it's stupid, like, everyone has a YouTube channel. It's like, no, like, if you love it, do it. And I don't know. I feel like that's something that I'm really proud of us for not. And I don't think I would have been able to without you, like having you as my support system.
Yeah.
And being like, no, we're doing this together, and having no ceilings. Like, let's not just have this be, another thing where it's like, oh, two YouTubers have a podcast. Like, let's make this its own empire. Let's get our own employees for it. Like, let's build this out. And who knows? I think it's so cool. We're so open. We want to diversify. We want to do other projects and other cool things from it. And our motto is no ceilings, as you guys know. I think we've held up that deal.
I agree. I think going back again to that 10-day countdown, I remember how you were so stoked. I was so stoked. I was like, we were deciding between like 10 days, 7 days, like what should we do? Like, I wanted to start sooner because I'm so impatient. Like, I couldn't keep the secret in any longer. And then we built it up. We were so excited. And then when we dropped it, all the comments were like, this is it. This is it. And we were really discouraged.
We were discouraged. But what's so funny too is now whenever I see any YouTuber say a huge announcement, I'm like, oh, I bet it's a podcast. And then I go and I see that it's a podcast and I almost feel bad for them. And this is just like another time where I feel like we got so lucky when we started, because even though we still got some comments then, as a whole podcast, we're still pretty new. So it's just so like, again, even if you want to start a podcast now and you feel like it's oversaturated or like it's going to be like, oh, it's just a podcast, like don't diminish that. Like, you're starting a whole new thing. And I don't know, but we did get a bit of people being like, I bet it's just a podcast.
But after that, now it was really hard for us in the beginning hearing that, because we believed in it so much. And it's one of those things where you're just like, no, like, just like, listen, like, just believe us. Like,
well, and I will say that, my gut then, I remember saying, just listen to it. Like, if you are doubting this, just listen to it, because you're going to understand. Like, that's all I could say. And it's just, you bring out, especially then, you always brought out a side of me. You brought out my real self in a lot of ways that I felt like I had hidden before. And it being a podcast and the fact that we couldn't edit it, which, going back to that first episode, if you guys could only know how Remy ended up editing that whole episode.
Like, cut
out. We cut out the ums, we cut out the spaces, and that's why it doesn't flow as well as the ones do now. And seeing how much both of us, especially me though, has gotten so much better at talking, I'm shook. There was one episode we were sitting on the blue couches, and I remember you like said this whole thing, and then you look at me, and I just sat there and smiled at you and was like, I don't know, like I just blanked. I was like overwhelmed. That. Like I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, I couldn't say anything. I was like, I don't know. Like,
I think
I'm uncomfortable.
So much better.
I was like, I'm not used to talking. Like, even when you look at my YouTube channel, I don't really sit down and just talk. Where you do.
Yeah.
It's always like more planned out, or it's very edited, heavily edited. So it was so weird to me to be like, I can't edit this.
Let go and let live. I think though, but after the slight flack we got about like, oh, it's a podcast, da da da. Now, I had, you and I both had so much faith in ourselves and the podcast and everything and just the project that we were able to get through that together. And then whenever there were times where I was really discouraged about something, it was like almost perfect where like you'd be like, no, you're fine. And then vice versa. But now moving forward with my own ventures, if anything happens like that where I feel like people just don't get it or anything like that, this has been able to form a thicker skin and more confidence in myself that I don't get bothered anymore.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, no, they just don't get it. Like, that's okay. Like, it's not meant for everyone, whatever it is. Whereas before, I was like, oh my God, the world is ending.
Yeah, I think this podcast has personally helped me so much. I know you too, of if people don't like you, then they just don't like you. Yes. And for me, I've said this before, but if someone listens to a podcast episode that's an hour long and they like leave hate on something I said 40 minutes in, I'm like, bitch, you listened to 40 minutes and you still want to comment something horrible?
I got a hate comment on a TikTok and it involved something that we talked about on Pretty Basic. And I was like, I'd be living rent free in this girl's head.
Yes.
Like I get it. If you see the TikTok, you could leave a hate comment about that. But like she was going from one medium to another medium to this.
It's just sad. But I will say before, when I was definitely way more sensitive and just sensitive about hate and that kind of stuff and living for other people more, which I still struggle with, but now, like the other day I got a hate comment on Instagram or something and I actually laughed out loud and then I like felt bad because I laughed I was like I was laughing, but it was so genuine where I was not bothered because I was like, oh, like I'm not insecure about that.
It's most of the time now when I feel the same way every once in a while. If I'm having a good day, I can laugh at it. And I'm like, they just don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's like nothing against them either. It's like they only see a small sliver and they only hear a small sliver on this and everything like that. And it's so skewed that it's almost funny because you're like, oh, I get why you think that. Like, that's funny that you think that way.
And I think it's interesting to see how, then I was in a more unhealthy spot, now being a little more healthy, but that also doesn't mean that I can't go back to that where I get in that rut where I see things and take them personal and whatever. But yeah, as a whole, I've just felt so much more confident, and it's honestly from you guys. It's from Pretty Basic.
Oh my God. Okay. You guys, spring is right around the corner. As we all know, I love cleaning. And spring cleaning is by far my favorite.
Please come over and spring clean my whole house.
I would love to. Spring is going to be here before we know it, and we've been stuck inside way too much. And I will be honest, I've gotten a little lazy with the cleaning, and I love a fresh start. I feel like it's time to like purge, get rid of things that don't spark joy. And Macy's is the best place to go reintroduce some amazing things into your home. Furniture, mattresses, whatever you need to just have a fresh start for this wonderful spring season.
Oh my God, I'm literally in that mood too because all I've been wanting to do is redo our guest room.
Oh, we just talked about this.
As well as my office. The other night Rim came over and was like helping me kind of just picturing everything because if you guys know our office, it needs an update, like needless to say. And it's perfect because now through March 8th at Macy's, you can actually get 20 to 60% off furniture, mattresses, rugs, and so much more. Like we said, perfect for updating that office, yo.
Also, in case, your house is already spick and span, you're good to go. Macy's also has great deals on wardrobe essentials like shirts, tanks, leggings. Obviously, the weather's going to change. We need to, get some cute workout clothes. Got to get our wardrobes ready, and Macy's is the place to do it.
Also, this is the perfect episode to talk about this. We actually have a custom site with Macy's. You can just go to macys.com/prettybasic and you can literally get all of our personalized picks, like the exclusive Pretty Basic favorites and picks that we created a whole site with all of our favorites from Macy's just for you guys. There's some super cute tops from Free People, skirts from guests, shoes to go with any style, and so much more. So again, that's at macys.com/prettybasic. Go check it out if you're looking for some great ideas to add to your spring fashion collection.
Some exclusions apply. See macys.com for details. I wish so badly we could do more live shows again. I remember this ties into the first episode as well too. I'm sure if you've listened throughout the years, then you know like how I was feeling. But in that first episode, at the time when we were recording, I was in a really bad place with myself. I was going through a lot of things personally. I was really, 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 really sad. And just, I felt like it was, listening back to it, I was very embarrassed. But I could feel that pain that I was feeling at that time. Would you say I was heartbroken at that time?
Yeah.
I was heartbroken. Yeah, I was like, today I was like, was that heartbreak?
She's going through it.
I'm not sure. She was going through it, but I
She
didn't
was
want anyone to
sad.
hear that. I didn't want anyone to think that, oh, she was sad. I didn't want anyone to know that. And so I feel like I was overcompensating in a way. And for a long time with the podcast, I was overcompensating. I was truly speaking and saying things and talking about things and leaving things out and like being sneaky because I was hoping that a specific person would be listening.
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm really sad for myself because we all do it. We all post certain stories and post things in hopes that someone's listening, someone's watching or whatever. But if I could go back and change it and just tell myself, like, I wish I had just been more authentic and real and like actually talked about what was bothering me and been more open, or had just like let go of that. Like, I know it's so much easier said than done, and it took me a really, really, really long time. But tying that back into the meet and greets, I was also sad at the meet and greets.
Remember when I cried at every single one?
Yes, we were both in a really bad place at that time.
Yeah.
But obviously you can't throw a meet and greet and then cry on stage the whole time.
It wasn't the whole time, but I remember being like, I think I cried at every single one, but I gauged the success of the episode of like, oh, I cried, so it was good. I hate myself.
Welcome to the Pretty Basic Live shows. This one's called Emo Hours. We just cry.
I was like, I just love her so much.
I just wish we will do live shows again one day, and I can't wait to do it when we're in a
on the East
good
Coast.
place. Me
Yes.
too. Like, it'll be so fun, and I'm so thankful for those shows and for the people that we met. And for
also, why did
the
I never take a
time.
shot before?
Oh my god, I didn't think about that either. Yeah,
Like,
why didn't we show up?
We should be like, what's up, people? Also, I will say, like, literally the fact that I went from meetups where people bring me like Boom Chicka Pop to the Pretty Basic meetup was the best meetups that I honestly ever had. And I remember it's because I felt myself and I didn't feel like I had to be on.
Aww.
And it was so much less exhausting.
And they also gave us alcohol and not Boom Chicka Pop.
And they gave us people would bring us a handle of Tito's.
God, I love that so much.
I love this. But yeah, it was so crazy how much less exhausting it was, because I was like, wait, I can just be like, what's up? How are you? Instead of like, hi, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're like being someone, when you're being inauthentic, of course it's going to tire you out more and more quickly. I also love that there are so many things on this podcast that we've talked about over the past couple of years that I have still never and will never talk about on my YouTube channel. Do you know what I mean?
Same.
I feel like even like the only time I've ever talked about sex in general on my main channel was in a
Q&A type,
like
girl talk.
Girl talk. It was more like informative, of like being protective and being like all these sorts of things. And then on here, I'm just like, and then this and then that. But it's because I feel so much more comfortable like in this conversation.
Even with you guys, like seeing how supportive you are. I wish you guys could see what it's like from our side, like seeing 5 stars and seeing PB still in the freaking like charts like 2 years later. It's just so like that makes us feel confident, and I hope you know how thankful we are for that. Like I don't know how to explain it. I wish they could like see our perspective.
I love that I'm able to talk about like my crazy wild nights out and this and that, and then I go to my DMs and it's like, oh my God, I'm having a night out, I'm drunk right now, I'm messaging you because I'm thinking of this, I'm listening to this, and just like we relate so much together. And I feel like we've found people that are just kind of like going through similar things that we are, even though we all obviously live different lives, different occupations, different everything. It's just so cool that we have like these stories that can tie us together. And I know like when I talked about me sending Turtle Dude all those screenshots, like I know everyone listening,
I feel like everyone's done something.
Someone has,
like
please tell me someone's, no, I'm just kidding. People have messaged me like, I do the same thing, I've done it, da 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 da. And like that made me feel so much less alone. Like I hope people have also fallen off the bars in front of a guy that they also hooked up with.
Honestly, I'm sure you've brought so much reassurance, validation, comfort to many, many people.
It's great because I remember one time, oh, this is so funny. Right before we had released Pretty Basic, we went out to drag brunch.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And we got far too inebriated. I truly blacked out. And the next, I don't know if it was nighttime or if it was the next day, but I realized I had posted a story of you dancing in West Hollywood. And our agent texted us. He was really chill. He's just like, hey, I don't know if you meant to post this, but you posted a story. I was like, oh, sorry. But it was just you dancing. And people were like, oh my God, like making it this big thing. Like,
well, I was definitely shaking my booty.
You were shaking your booty. But
and then you panned because there was two guys like sitting down staring. But it was just so funny because I wanted to be like, well, people were just like, oh my God, Remy, you're changing Alicia, blah, 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 blah. And what's so funny is now no one would care. But
now
also,
people would love it.
Then I was just like, I wish you knew we were in WeHo. We're at the gay bar. Like they're being like, yes, queen.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like
yes.
it wasn't like, I don't know.
But I love that now. Because the thing is, we were doing it before.
We were
just
doing it
weren't
before. We just
showing
weren't
it. It's
posting
one
it.
thing if like we weren't doing it before and then like we're super different now, which is still
Yeah.
fine. But like we were doing it before, but we felt like that's something I would have posted on Close Friends because it was funny.
Yeah.
I was just drunk and posted on my. That's the one and only time I've ever done that.
Yeah.
And
I will say, sorry to cut you off. The amount of time, like I used to be so scared when we would go out and then I'd wake up and check all of our socials and be like, did I post anything? And
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh, now you're like I wouldn't be like, I feel like we are who we really are online and in person.
Yeah.
And that's so refreshing. Keep going.
No. But it's true. It's like now, if we were to post that, now we just feel comfortable posting it because, yeah, some people are going to have a problem with it. Oh my God. Recently, we were recording. This is like maybe a month or two ago. We were filming a Truth or Drink, and my publicist texts me that someone had gone out of their way to email him that I was like partying too much and like all these sorts of things. And I was like, sis, like, I swear, like I'm in quarantine. This is the least I've partied in the past few years. But like, so I get it. Not everyone's going to agree with it. I totally understand that. But I love that like we feel comfortable sharing that now because 2 years ago I accidentally posted it and we were still doing it. Now I would just post it regularly and people would be like, oh my God, yes. Like I love that. Like same thing. Like I love drag brunch, etc.
That is the motto, I think, of what has helped me find myself and know my own boundaries with things. And I think it all comes down to I would rather be exactly who I am and not hide anything. Like I just hate the idea of growing up in a house where it's like, or just even like a society where it's like, oh, like I'm so glad I wasn't born in the 50s for that example, where it was a theme to be like, oh, our family's perfect. Like, haha, oh, little Jenny would never do that. But then it was all like closed doors, like the secrets and so secretive and like, don't be this and don't do this and da 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 da. Like, oh, but put on a front and be like, oh, we're happy when like.
That's an Asian household for you.
Oh my God.
That's truly an Asian household.
I think of the movie Pleasantville for whatever reason that comes into my head. Great movie. Love Tobey Maguire. But I would so much rather just like be so true and real to who I am. And I do think that there are times where it's like, oh, like let me, not be like cussing up a storm in like certain situations, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, but I just want to be true to me. I want to be true to me, true to myself. Like, I don't want to be two-faced.
I think also a couple things with that. 2 years ago, sorry, I keep talking about this one thing, but 2 years ago, had I posted that, I'm sure someone would have emailed my publicist and done the whole thing about like, I tried to message her, she didn't see it, so I'm sending it to you. Yeah. My publicist was like, LOL, what? Like, what is your problem? And sent it like to laugh about it, just like, what is going on? Like, why is she messaging me? But now I post it, things like that, because I feel comfortable. And I'm like, I do know things like that are going to happen, but I also know that like a lot of people do the same thing. Like I have so many friends from college still that are obviously my age, so many people from home that like we all have fun. We all love to party with our friends. It's just that they're not under a microscope, but I still feel comfortable doing it and posting it because like it's what I love to do. I love hanging out with my friends. I love going out. It's like a fun, normal thing to do. And I'm not ashamed and I don't feel like I need to hide that stuff anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's something has taken us a while to learn. And if I could go back to myself then, I would have just been like, you're going to be so happy in 2 years and it's going to be so much less stress, so much more carefree. You're going to have way deeper friendships than you've ever had because you're not caring about what they think. You're going to have the best relationship with your fans and viewers because they actually love the real you.
They know you.
They love the real you, not this like perfect version of you. And you're going to be so much more just proud of everything, of your videos, of literally everything. And like hurry up because it doesn't need to take 2 years for this. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's really cool.
during that first episode, had I known that I would be in such a healthy relationship in my romantic life, I'd have such good friends and such a healthy balance of everything. I feel like I thought I did at that time too. That's what's funny. And again, I was so sad on the inside and trying to make it seem like I was okay when I really wasn't. Now I feel like when I speak and I come on the podcast now, I feel like I'm almost more boring because there's like nothing, like what Emma said, like everything was so stable that she felt boring. That's how I feel now too. But I would absolutely take this any day, and I'd rather be boring than be like really sad. So I think it's been really good. I thought also another funny thing I caught was how we kept saying, we talked a lot about the old content that we'd make, about how it was like very young and all those sorts of things. But something that popped into my head, and I watched Lauren's newest video, which was shit she wish she had known when she was in her 20s. I want to watch it. It was really good, and I resonated a lot with it. You'll resonate a lot with it too. But it was really interesting because she talked about how she was like, doing YouTube, how we started in high school and then, kind of blew up between like end of high school, early college.
Yeah, especially with content for young kids.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, is she was saying how she had to grow up really quickly, and I agreed with that. Like, I felt like all of us, we've talked about how we incorporated at a young age. We were like very obviously learned to be more business minded, etc. And kind of skipped over kind of like the late teens, early 20s, and like those kind of years like that.
College,
I think that's why we kind of got into like the partying and stuff a little bit later, and why we went so hard was because we didn't experience that. And I know that now because I go way easier now. I'm like, damn, how did I do that? But I think the juxtaposition between us growing up in a financial setting and also kind of like mentally having to grow up and make business decisions and things like that, but also at the same time making content that was so young, like
polarizing.
Yes. That's so